Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here and listening to this. I was told to give a presentation really about the business side of cyber and fraud defense. To give you a little bit of background. Whoops, about me. I'm a hacker and Silicon Valley guys. Appdome is my fourth startup. So I've made a career in building products and getting customers to buy them and then finding ends for them and so forth. So I'm a technical person first and a business person second. And I hope you like what I have to show. So when you, as a cyber leader or a fraud leader, think about how you plan your day, it typically, when you look at how you spend your money and where you spend your time and where your team spends time, this is sort of what it looks like. You have, on the one hand, you have a part of your business, let's call that the web or the digital business, which is relatively flat, sometimes declining. And you have another side of your business, which is the mobile business, which is kind of you're in transition and consumers are moving to, transactions, use, revenues, and so forth are moving to as well. And at the same time, on the other side of the slide, you see where you spend your time and where you spend your money. So right now, if you're an attacker like me, if you're a hacker, you're looking for these kinds of gaps. You're looking for where does the business spend its time and its money, and where is the revenues? Because as an attacker, you want to chase the revenue and you want to go after where the juicy targets are, and that's typically where the defender is not spending their time or their money or their resources. So the other thing that you have to keep in mind is, as an attacker, as a hacker, you make use of the tools that are available to you and you embrace technology very, very fast. So as you look at the threat landscape today, I would say that definitely the attackers have first mover advantage in using AI. I was looking, for example, at the Google Cloud AI landscape, and they sort of had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that was earlier today. And at the fifth step of AI, the evolution of AI and cyber, they had the attackers using AI to do threat research and exploit creation and so forth. That's not step 5. That's step 1. Attackers and hackers like me, we're already using AI. We're already using AI tools to create those exploits, to create automations, to create malware, to create things that can break down the systems and the technologies that you're using to defend your mobile business. So traditional products that you've implemented with an SDK, traditional products that you've implemented using manual coding are all vulnerable to the faster processing and neural learning that AI can provide in the hands of an attacker to create exploits and break down those systems and break into your applications and your businesses. So attackers have definitely gained first mover advantage in the places where you're not spending money, and that's on the mobile side. So if you look at kind of where the modern CISO spends their time, they're going to spend their time largely in the compliance areas, things that protect data at rest, things that protect data in transit, things that allow you to comply with regulatory objectives and things like that. And typically when I talk to a CISO will say, I think I'm covered. I think I've got everything protected. And my response is always, you might have everything protected, but are you informed? Do you have data? Do you have threat signals? Can you attribute threats to specific applications, installs, devices, and users? Can you create risk profiles? Can you create threat profiles? Can you create fraud profiles? Do you understand a bad device versus a good device, a device that's being used by an attacker, and a device that's being used by a normal everyday user, even an everyday user who's making mistakes from a cyber perspective? So there's this huge kind of gap between what the defenders are doing and where they're spending their time and resources, and what the attackers are doing and where they're spending time and resources. And this provides a huge amount of opportunity for the attacker and a huge amount of risk for you as a business leader. So let's talk about what you have to work with. Okay, if you're in this game, and if you're the CISO or a CIO of a large brand in the market, and you have greater than 100,000 users, you have 1 million users, you have 10 million users, you have 100 million users, or whatever. Okay, you have a substantial amount of revenue and a substantial amount of account activity, engagement with your brand going through your mobile estate. We've already talked about how the attackers are focused on that because in general they think you're not. So what do you have to work with? What's in your toolbox? What is in your toolkit to defend the business? Well, the reality is not much. You don't have a lot to work with. If you look kind of historically at what's been provided to you, there's really very little when it comes to mobile. Every cloud vendor, every fraud vendor, every WAF vendor, every one of these vendors has a mobile product, but it's a lesser version than their web product. And they all operate in silos. They all operate independent of one another. I was talking to a CISO last night at dinner, and he said, when I first became a CISO, I bought this product and this product and this product and this product and this product, and I was very proud of myself because I bought the best of breed of everything. But then it came time to make them all talk to each other. Then it came time to bring all the data together, to make the data integrated, to have a unified policy. And when I tried to create a unified policy out of all these point products, everything broke down. Everything broke down. Yes, I had the best solution for this and the best solution for that and the best solution for this, or at least I thought, but I could not create a unified defense model for my business because none of these systems talk to each other and the vendors wouldn't cooperate with each other, etc. So you end up with a lot of point products. You end up with a lot of patchwork defenses. In some cases, all doing the same thing. So for example, I have a joke that I'm going to tell you and you can use it with your bosses. It's not a very funny joke, but it's a good joke. It's like, does anybody know the difference between a cyber product and a fraud product? And the answer is the price. That's it. When you look at fraud and I see some of the guys smiling, so thank you for that. I see when you look at what the fraud vendors do and the cyber vendors do, they'll all come to you and say, we look at device compromises, we look at jailbreak and root, we look for emulators, we look for these things. A lot of times you end up paying two times for the exact same functionality, and that functionality competes with one another inside your application, inside your business. So you end up with these point products. Now, the number one risk of this approach is that you do not control the means of delivery. The development team does. You have to beg for resources, you have to beg for attention, you have to beg for priority, and you have to beg for that work. And if you don't get it, your product that you just bought, that best of breed thing that you thought was going to be really shiny and save your business, is going to sit on the shelf and go nowhere. So you have zero control and you have zero controls over what's implemented. Your only backstop is to do a pen test. That's it. You can do a pen test to see if they actually implement it. If they did not implement it, you call them on it. You say, you didn't implement it, and they say, okay, we did it this next time. Or we'll do it the time after that. But ultimately, you have no control over your own destiny and your own fate and your own objectives. Now, the third thing is you lack automation. If you lack automation, all of us, everybody in this room, anybody that's a CISO, okay, anybody that's a CIO, knows that budgets are being cut, knows that resources are being limited, knows that people are laying people off in favor of AI, that AI is picking up tasks and functions and organizational responsibilities faster than ever. If you yourself are not part of that transition, okay, if you yourself are not part of that transition, okay, AI will displace you as well. If I'm not part of that transition, AI will displace me. Personally, I think AI can probably do the CEO job better than I can, so yay. But you need automation. You need AI to help you implement things, gain control, consolidate things all together. So when I look at cyber, this is probably the most important slide that you guys should look at in this. When I look at cyber, I look at the one area of the organization that has the most to gain from agentic AI. And when I say AI, I mean agentic AI. I don't mean AI for data analysis and AI to make dogs walk across the stage and stuff like that. To me, this is not AI. This is wonderful machine learning and wonderful computational things. I'm a developer. I know what AI is. I'm talking about agentic AI. I'm talking open-ended, conversational, human, uber-human neural learning networks that are able to give you, to amass massive amounts of unstructured data and to put that into a very structured format. Who has the most to gain from that? Cyber. Why? Because cyber is the laggard when it comes to adopting automation platforms in their workflows. Everybody else has automation platforms in their workflows. The dev team certainly does. The dev team has been using DevOps and CI/CD and all kinds of automation tools for testing, release, signing, etc., building, and so forth. So they're going to gain from artificial intelligence because they have that automation platform and that data set already present. And so when they add AI on top of that, they're going to get a bit of a pop because now they can code faster and stuff like that. But that's because they've been using Git for so long and they have all their code repository there. So they got the training data for AI in order to make AI valuable. But when you look back and you go across the different functional areas of the organization, cyber doesn't have automation. Where's our automation platform? Where's the tool that allows us to implement fast? Where's the tool that allows us to be agile? Where's the tool to help us increase velocity? Where's the tool to help us get our objectives met faster than the dev team does, or at least at the speed that the dev team does? That is the missing link. And if we can get automation into the cyber team, then the cyber team can take advantage of the AI future. So let's talk about what you need in order to leverage agentic AI and what it means to have a pipeline. So this concept of a pipeline is something that engineers use all the time to get code out the door. Cyber teams are not thinking about delivery in the context of pipelines. They don't think about the cyber pipeline. They don't think about cyber as a product. And I think we need to do that. We need to think about cyber as not just a part of the product, but a product itself. And so we need to look at this question of how do I release it, update it, maintain it, and get it out the door as fast as possible to stay at pace with the dev team. Okay, so it's all about pipelines. So what do you need for pipelines? You need automation, you need a data store, and you need to be able to collaborate. This is what you need. The better you do all three of these things, the better your agentic AI future will look. So at its core, you need something that is going to eliminate work, tasks, and so forth. AI is an amazing tool to be able to do this. And at least at Appdome, we use it to code defenses into your application so that developers don't have to. You also need data. That platform, that same system needs to be the data store for the history of things that product is intended to do. So in other words, it needs to be the source of record for the history of that function within your organization. So in the case of Appdome, we store every build, we store every release, we store threats for all of those builds and releases. So 400 different threat vectors covered, 1.7 billion events per week, okay? Get tracked by our system in there and attributed to your account. So if you're an Appdome customer, you can know not only what did I release, when did I release it, what build did I release it on, what threats are associated with it, but you can take those threats down to the device, down to the user, down to the specific second and place in the world where it happened. Okay? So that system needs to be able to automate, it needs to be the source of record, and it needs to allow collaboration. Meaning, it needs to be democratized access using role-based access and entitlements, but democratized access to the workflows in that system. So you need to be able to have other stakeholders come in and view your work, and you need to be able to go in and view other people's work in that system, okay? If you do this, if you have these three elements, then you have a pipeline, and you have the basis and the foundation for what agentic AI will be for you in the future. Now, in the case of the mobile side, you know, one of the things that platforms require and AI requires as well is interoperability with the rest of the tech stack. So you need to be able to plug into whatever else that system is intended to affect. So in the case of Appdome, if I think out into the future in the next 6 months, okay, today, if you're using Appdome, you have 400 different defense choices. You as a user turn on the things that you want and AI builds it for you in your app. 6 months from now, you will not turn on anything. The machine will analyze your data, the machine will give you a set of recommendations, and the machine will automatically and autonomously adjust your security model, okay, to fit whatever threats are out there. You will not have to make a decision. Okay, you will have approval authority and visibility management and control over the choices that AI makes, but AI will make those choices for you, right? It has a much better computational advantage to humans to look at all of your threat data across all of your installs and basically say, okay, based on this particular attack pattern, based on this particular fraud pattern, based on this particular, risk scores and risk attributes and so forth, I believe that this ought to be the defense model, and it will implement that for you automatically in your build pipeline. You must start planning for an agentic AI future that is autonomous in nature, right? To remove the burden of analysis on you and put yourself in the approval function to what the AI generates, okay? This is going to be a very huge transformation when you're thinking about how AI is going to be used within cyber for work, to put yourself in the approval over AI, to be the manager and leader of AI instead of its victim. So interoperability with the rest of the tech stack to push those changes into the pipeline autonomously are going to be critical to how you think about kind of your future and what that means for you. All right, last slide. So what do you need when you're thinking about pipelines, when you're thinking about how do I automate the delivery of cyber fraud, ITO, and other functions within my workspace? Number one, in order to get to AI, you need an automation platform. You need something that is going to provide you task automation, work automation, eliminate manual effort, be the source of data, source of truth for what that work does, and allow for collaboration. It needs to provide visibility to you and others to collaborate and allow you to function together. And there's two kinds of visibility here. One is what I call heads down visibility, meaning looking down into the status of work. Where am I in the production life cycle of something? And heads up visibility, which is what is the impact of what I have released out in the wild? Have I stopped threats? Have I stopped fraud? Have I reduced the risk to the business? So you have two forms of visibility. You need to be able to have control over your own destiny. You need to be able to be in the delivery function, but you also need controls from an audit perspective to ensure that nobody changes the policy without you saying so, because remember, it is an automation platform. One of the most important things that we didn't cover today, and I will say, I do think that cyber is going through another transformation out there. Some call it cyber fraud fusion. Other people have other names for it. But I'm definitely seeing cyber taking on more of the fraud responsibility, more of the types of defense decisions that are left to other groups. So we are seeing cyber teams lead consolidation as a function. So in other words, instead of dealing with multiple point products in the business, cyber is saying, hey, I can handle that, and bringing those projects, whether they're API protection projects, fraud defense projects, certainly, on the core security side, device profiling, device tracking, user risk, and things like that. I'm seeing cyber bring those things together, certainly within our own product, but I'm seeing it on the whole as a trend. So I definitely think that's going to continue. Don't underestimate the power of collaboration. The platform needs to be open so that people can access it. And if you do these things above, you'll be ready for the agentic AI future for yourselves and your organization, and be able to use a variety of new tools that are coming online. So for example, in the case of Appdome, we will be releasing 5 new agentic AI agents on top of the platform. One will perform your SecOps function, one will perform your DevOps function, one will do defense posture management or recommendations for you, one will do remediations. So if your users face threats out in the world, use agentic AI to solve those threats in real time. A lot of our customers are actually using remediation agent inside their applications. So when a user faces a threat, they merely click a button, open up a agentic AI chat, and the chat takes them through how to remediate that threat on their device so that they don't have to call the support team and they don't have to get out of using the app. So if you want to prepare yourself for this agentic AI future, I hope you embrace platforms. I hope you embrace pipelines. Thank you very much for your time, and I did it right on the money. So thank you very much.